Before we get started, I wanted to acknowledge something that I spoke to some of you about at the end of the day yesterday. We were talking about how many incredible speakers we have had on this stage and how many of them are such incredible and powerful women. So can we just take a second to acknowledge that? The thing that I love the most about iProspect are the people, and I mean that genuinely. And I get to work with so many amazing people. But one of the things that I really love is how many women that I get to work with on a day-to-day basis and look up to and who motivate and inspire me. And yesterday we were all talking about that, and I just felt like we had to share it. So before I welcome another incredible woman to the stage, I want to share something with all of you. As John just said, internally, we call this session the Facebook Fireside Chat. And this is the 5th year that we've done this. The first year that we did it was in Austin 4 years ago. It was actually my first summit. And every year, Jeremy hosts this session. And this year, he finally passed the torch to me and let me do it. So thank you, Jeremy, for that. And Jeremy said it yesterday that this is our most important week. But this is also my favorite week of the year. And many of you know that. And if you didn't know that before this week, you've heard me going on and on about it for the past day and a half. Sorry, not sorry. And I absolutely love this week for the reasons that Jeremy said yesterday. It's so important because there are so many people across our agency, so many of our clients, and so many of our partners all in one place. And the partner part of that is so critical because we rely on them to help move the industry forward. And the days of the agency partner differentiator being a rate card are behind us. So at iProspect, our POV on partnerships is making sure that they are mutually beneficial. First and foremost, they have to drive value for our clients, but we also have to derive value for us as an agency and for our products. And then we also want it to be valuable to the partners as well. So the way that we accomplish all 3 of those things is by raising our hands and having a seat at the table to provide feedback on product innovation, on product development, and we bring and represent our clients to the table with us by pushing for and asking for the things that we know are going to help solve your business problems. So the reason why we've had Facebook join us on stage for the past 4 years, and now this is the 5th time, is because they've been incredible partners to us in that. And it starts with our agency partnerships, and then it extends to the product marketing team. Now, many of you know this, but some of you probably do not. Katie, who's going to come out in a second, used to be our Facebook agency partner. And then she since moved over to the product marketing team. And we love that because it means that there are people on the product team who understand agencies and who have direct client relationships and are able to really move the space forward in the way that we need to meet your business objectives. And I feel very lucky to be able to call her not just a trusted colleague, but a friend. So with that, please join me in welcoming Katie Sollenberger, Product Marketing Manager at Facebook. Katie, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
And in a different capacity than last year. Last year as our agency partner, and this year up here talking about product marketing, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, we've come kind of full circle. I love that.
So as we know, Facebook is one of the key players in this space. So knowing that and knowing that Facebook is not just driving ad capabilities forward, but you are really setting and resetting what the expectations are across the industry as a whole. So can you tell us a little bit about what Facebook is doing to drive that?
Yeah, so I would say that we'd really like to see the industry focus more on the positive impact that social media can have on overall well-being. And just to give you some context, so in December of last year, we did some research to really understand how does social media impact well-being. And we found that it really does depend on how consumers are interacting with the technology. But we found that there are consumers that are passively scrolling through newsfeed, very similarly to how they may passively watch TV. But then on the flip side, we also see consumers that are using Facebook and social media to interact with one another. And we found that across the board, those consumers that were using the technology to interact with each other, specifically to message one another, to comment on each other's posts, or to post on each other's timelines, reported greater improvements in overall well-being, depression and loneliness. And that was certainly drastic in comparison to those consumers that were more passively interacting with the platform on the sidelines. And so ultimately, we feel that social media and Facebook should be a place to bring together friends and family. It should not detract from any sort of offline relationships. If anything, it should enhance those.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And actually, just yesterday during lunch, we were talking with a couple of the clients, and some of us were talking about taking a hiatus from Facebook for some time, not doing it now, but in the past having done that just to kind of unplug from social or digital in general. But then when you get back on there, you realize you felt a little disconnected because of how connected you can feel from those types of interactions. So there's been all this talk about meaningful interactions. So what is Facebook doing to try to foster more of that and to move more of the behavior on the platform in that direction?
Yeah, so great question. So in January of this year, Mark announced that we would be making some gradual changes to Newsfeed to really promote content that drives conversation or, to your point, meaningful social interactions. So specifically what we will do is we will predict how likely you are to interact with a piece of content with your friends and then show that higher in your feed. Now this could be content that's from a friend. So for example, maybe a friend seeking recommendations for an upcoming trip, or this could be content from a news publisher. That content is potentially fostering debate. Ultimately, we will prioritize content from friends over public content, and we do see that this may potentially impact time spent on Facebook, but we feel that this is a short-term loss for a long-term gain.
That's great. So when we think about meaningful interactions and those types of engagements and brands, we've spent the past 3 years talking to our clients about moving away from that aggregate engagement metric as a KPI and instead trying to hone in on those more specific desired user behaviors that drive business results. But this sounds a little bit like those types of engagements might be more important again. Like, do we need to go back to the days of engagement baiting, or where are we with that?
No, and I'm glad you brought that up. So we're really focused on driving interactions between people, and there are so many different factors that go into whether or not we would consider a piece of content meaningful. We are not at all purely prioritizing content that has a lot of likes or reactions. So absolutely do want to clarify that, and great question.
Okay. That's good. So if we're not moving away from engagement, how should brands and marketers in this group be thinking about what meaningful interactions mean, and what are the things that they should consider when they're putting together campaign and content strategies?
Yeah, so for the advertising community, we are recommending that they adjust their strategy to focus more on what we're calling meaningful business interactions. So these are interactions where both the business and the consumer can extract value. And we see that there are actually 3 types of ads that do this really well. So the first would be an ad where it presents a very clear solution to a particular consumer problem, and then where possible, provides evidence as to why that product or service will really solve that problem. The second is an ad that really sparks that consumer's attention and also allows that consumer to extract information even if the consumer isn't ultimately ready to convert at that time. And then the third type of ad is the most basic in nature, but this would be an ad that does present very clear consumer value and that consumers, when polled, would elect to have all ads reflect this type of format.
Okay. So we talk a lot about keeping media accountable. I mean, the last panel was talking about data and attribution. How should marketers be thinking about that now? Have you seen anyone starting to do this successfully?
Yes, so the good news is we are increasingly seeing this type of content on the platform. So whether it's, again, I'll give the news publisher example, pushing out content that fosters debate, whether it's video content that creates this shared viewing experience, or whether it's a live video that encourages more interactions or comments than any other piece of content. The good news is we are seeing this on the platform, which is amazing. Now, we would recommend that brands still be authentic to their brand self and push out content that really makes the most sense for their audience. But we as a company are committed to partnering with publishers and brands to ensure that they understand best practices, insights, and ultimately how to continue to drive meaningful interactions across the platform.
Okay, that's great to hear. So you and I have had several conversations around the Facebook approach to monetization, and knowing that Facebook uses consumer behavior as the driver for product innovation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and kind of how you're moving forward now?
Yeah, so absolutely. I would say meaningful social interactions is a priority across the Facebook family. So whether it be for our core Facebook experience or for our ad solutions, it is a priority across the board. To your point, on the product side, we are always building first and foremost for the consumer, and then if it makes sense, we will then build an ad solution. When I think about products that really index high when it comes to meaningful social interactions, what's top of mind across our platform for me is our messaging solutions. And this is because we know that through messaging, and whether it be through Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, or Instagram Direct, messaging enables consumers to directly interact with one another in a meaningful way, or to interact with a business to either solve a problem or extract value. And I personally feel that we are so often in market talking about this shift to mobile, and with that there has been this huge shift to mobile video, and I know my team is certainly guilty of that. But what I don't think we talk about enough is this shift to messaging and the huge opportunity there.
Okay. And I mean, you know, in full transparency, you got me hooked on Facebook Messenger by us starting to have conversations there, and we talk there all the time. But the question that we always get from clients is, we get it, that sounds like that makes sense, and we know we can opt into Messenger as a placement, but do you have any updated stats on consumer adoption? Because that, at first, that was the risk with adding that, because there wasn't that much scale. So are you seeing anything change?
Yeah, so we actually have some new stats there as of this year. So we see globally 80% of adults use a messaging platform each day. And then when we look at teens, we see even higher adoption. So 91% of teens use a messaging platform each day. We are fortunate to have the two biggest platforms when it comes to monthly active users. So that's WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. And then in terms of actual specific platform stats, we see for WhatsApp, there are over 1 billion daily active users, which is insane, incredible reach. For Facebook Messenger, we now have over 1.3 billion monthly active users. And then for Instagram Direct, which is kind of the earliest stage product, we see that there are 375 million monthly active users. So we are seeing incredible growth across the messaging family, and on the product side are continuing to invest in the core messaging experience and then also enterprise solutions.
That makes sense. And everyone's been joking and using the new fun phrase, sliding into my DM. And everyone's just been joking about that. But when those phrases emerge, they emerge for a reason. And it's because the adoption, and with even just seeing that on Instagram alone, and then hopefully also across Messenger and WhatsApp as well. So knowing that many of the marketers and the brands in this room have a global remit or are part of brands that have global presence, is there anything else that we should be considering as it relates to WhatsApp or anything else from a global standpoint?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. And I have some specific Messenger examples that I'd love to share with the group. But for WhatsApp, that's actually been a big focus of ours on the product side. So this year, we now announced the WhatsApp for Business app, which enables businesses to establish a presence on WhatsApp, sort of similar to how businesses may establish that presence through pages for Facebook Messenger. We also now have automated solutions, so businesses can interact at scale with their consumers in WhatsApp, and we are rolling out click to WhatsApp ads so that businesses can promote that presence on WhatsApp. So it will be a huge focus for the remainder of the year. For Instagram Direct, we are looking to build out enterprise solutions, and we'll be prioritizing that in the latter half of the year.
And Katie, you mentioned briefly video and mobile video, and I feel like when it was the year of mobile, it was the year of mobile for 4 years, and then now I feel like that's what it is with video. It's been the year of video for 3 years, but knowing that Facebook has been so vocal about video and thinking about Instagram and Instagram stories, Is there anything that you can share on what's next for video that might give this group a peek into what's to come?
Yeah, so, and I have some new video formats that I'd love to share with the group. But before I do that, I'd also love to share some new experiences that are coming to Messenger that we feel will continue to foster both business interactions and meaningful social interactions. So actually, at the start of this month, we announced at our F8 Annual Developer Conference that we would be bringing kind of 3 new products or features to Messenger. The first is natural language processing. Mm-hmm. So this enables bots to actually read prior interactions and understand frequently asked questions for consumers to more quickly solve problems. Mm-hmm. We are also rolling out mTranslate to Messenger so that consumers can interact with one another over Messenger in different languages and also with businesses. And then we also launched our camera effects platform, and we're going to be bringing that to Messenger this year. And so I actually have a slide that I'd love to play out that shows the camera effects platform. Here, brands can really build an AR experience to create an even more immersive opportunity to engage with their consumers over Messenger. Now, this unfortunately isn't the Messenger experience here, but you can see on the left-hand side there just how AR can augment natural everyday offices or just the standard landscape that people are in today. And then the second video here shows a branded example. So this is a prototype for NBA. It's a dunk cam here. But in Messenger, how this will work is consumers in interacting with a bot can turn on the camera and then enter this AR experience. And so we see that there's huge opportunity for virtual try-on, for example, for businesses. So from a beauty lens, beauty companies could show how lipstick actually looks on that consumer's face. They could show how different clothing looks, and also even understand just how it could really, really impact that everyday experience. So maybe even showing what a picture would look like actually on that consumer's wall, or what a couch would look like in their house. So very, very excited about this, and this will be gradually rolling out to Messenger. Now, you mentioned video, and I know that I earlier said that we are too often in market just talking about video, but video is a big focus of ours as a platform, and we are continually focused on building more interactive, sort of social in nature video formats. And so I actually do have 2 examples of some new video products that we're going to be bringing to market this year. So I'll go ahead and put these up here. Okay, so the first example is what we're calling video ads with multiple links. Here you can see there's a main video ad and then customizable calls to action beneath the video. Upon click on any of those calls to action, the consumer is taken directly to that part of the advertiser's site or app. However, if they click on the video itself, they're taken into this native post-click experience where they can learn more about that particular brand, and the brand can customize this. So here, for the Qantas prototype, they highlight their frequent flyers program and also show which friends have maybe recently visited Australia. So again, we feel that this creates both business and consumer value. Now, the second example is very similar in nature. This is our video polling asset. So here you can see there's the main video, and then beneath that there are customizable videos that upon click will dictate the consumer experience. What's neat about this is if they click on, let's see, TrimFit, they'll go to TrimFit site for Nordstrom, or the TrimFit landing page for Nordstrom, but they will also then see how many other consumers actually pick that option. So more social in nature, and definitely we feel creates both business and consumer value. Now, what's also really interesting about these assets is we feel that they live kind of more in the mid-funnel. So when we think about the funnel or the path to purchase, these assets really do a good job of fostering intent or consideration. And we have a lot of solutions that are great at driving kind of upper funnel brand awareness, and then we also have a lot of solutions that are good at driving lower funnel conversions, but we are increasingly focused on investing more in kind of like this mid-funnel space. And that's true from a format perspective, but then also when it comes to targeting and even measurement. And I know in working with some of your teams that you guys have been kind of leaders in addressing this mid-funnel space. So I would actually love to hear how you guys are thinking about the mid-funnel, if at all.
I would love to, and thank you for perfectly teeing up our Insight Lab. So shameless plug for our Insight Lab in a little while. We're actually focusing on that, so thank you. But the mid-funnel is so important for the reasons that you mentioned. We can drive incremental site traffic and build incremental CRM data that can be used to fuel cross-channel. Because we're seeing so many clients have tremendous success with things like RLSA and customer match in search, but sometimes we get to a point of diminishing returns and we've simply exhausted those audiences to the extent that we are able, and we wish we could spend more there. And we're seeing that with social, and in particular what we can drive with units like this, and the units that exist today that are similar to this, is that incremental site traffic from Facebook and Instagram to build those pools that we can then leverage from a cross-channel perspective. And it's units like this, and I'm loving this. Have you got to play around with any of this yet? I can't wait to mess around with this, because we always talk about how the ad units are sort of a choose your own adventure. You don't have to do a branding ad and then a DR ad later. You can present a very user-friendly version of an ad that has the ability to do both of those things, and it mobilizes the consumer to take the action that they're ready to take when they're ready, rather than having to assume we know whether they're ready or not, which is great.
Yep.
But that's typically how we've been thinking about that.
How have you been thinking about targeting within the mid-funnel?
So lookalikes have performed really well. So whether it's lookalikes of site retargeting or lookalikes of CRM data, most recently value-based lookalikes, and the dynamic dynamic ads for broad audiences. So being able to, that's been such a powerful prospecting tool. We saw in our latest quarterly trends report, as well as the report before that, that especially during holiday, that dynamic ads for broad audience. You guys don't make it easy.
No, well, video ads with multiple links is not exactly the best name either. So
those audiences we've seen, the KPI we had for a lot of our clients for that type of targeting was more around really efficient but quality traffic. So looking not just at click-through rate and CPC, but site engagement and making sure that it really is a qualified audience. But then we saw that we actually saw a really strong immediate return from it. And I think that again, goes back to the fact that the ad may have been meaning to click to site, but it gave the consumer the option to very easily land where they needed to also convert if they were ready. So we're not just driving the new customers, we're also able to see that from a direct return as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're trying to create. Part of the reason that we built some of these assets is that we saw tremendous success with our Canvas and collection units. And within those units, the consumer can absolutely kind of choose their own adventure. So exactly, it creates consumer value and it also creates business value. And that's great to hear that you guys are thinking about the mid-funnel and that it is a successful kind of important component of your overall strategy. I would love to ask you the same question that you asked me at the start, because I know we're just about at time here, but what would you like to see more of from Facebook, whether it be in terms of leading kind of the social landscape or from a paid social perspective? What would you like to see more of from us? And no answers off the table here. Yeah,
I mean, be careful what you wish for here. We could have probably done the whole session about that. But no, we're seeing so much success from Facebook and Instagram. And I think you guys have done so much, especially recently, to reset what it means to have data and privacy standards. And we're hoping that makes Facebook ultimately one of the safest places to advertise and challenges other partners to follow suit. So continued efforts in that space, for sure. I think that's kind of a no-brainer and could probably go without saying. So I think that in addition to that, more measurement solutions. So just knowing that it's really tricky to see, again, they were talking about the struggles with attribution, and just understanding the full value of Facebook and the full family of apps and services across Instagram, Facebook Audience Network, now Messenger, if WhatsApp becomes, seamlessly integrated there, making sure we have the measurement that we need, but maybe in a more simplified way. Knowing that there's 1,800 metrics that we get from any single Facebook campaign alone, kind of helping us really understand those metrics and how they play together and how that impacts the full journey and the full marketing mix for our clients. and just keep creating badass assets like these ones that truly are choose your own adventure, and it gives us the opportunity to get really creative with the audience.
Yeah, great. Well, I will say from a measurement perspective, and that's less of my focus, but we are focused on kind of two things within our measurement strategy. The first is effective solutions, and then the second is providing partners with options for verification. So from an effective solution standpoint, we're really focusing on our own proprietary measurement solutions, and then partnerships with partners where we feel that they do have a certain rigor when it comes to their approach to measurement. For verification, we know that that is important for the industry, that people want to have that third-party check, and so we are looking to continue to build out those partners there. I know that we have much more work to do in that space, but just do know that that is a priority of ours for this year.
Okay, that's great. So I hope I can speak for many people in the room that we're really excited to see a lot of that come to fruition, and what you're able to bring, not just to the Facebook family of apps and services, but what that does to challenge other partners and platforms and engines to push the envelope as well. So thank you so much for giving us a bit of a peek under the hood and seeing what's to come. It's been so great having you up here. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's been my pleasure.